Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again with another one. So let's get that posture cranked up. Grab yourself a refreshment of your choice. My refreshment today is Spade. It's 0 sugar, 0 calories, all natural, 6 flavors. Cola, yuzu, lime, guava, blueberry, acai, kiwi, strawberry, Dr. Spade. Only 6 ingredients, including water, sweetened with the most premium, pure form of stevia on the market. No bitter aftertaste, caffeine-free, dye-free. Added electrolytes for a hydration benefit, just as healthy as a sparkling water and just as flavorful as a traditional soda. And PrizePicks. PrizePicks is so simple. You pick more or less on your favorite players in the NBA, NHL, UFC for the chance to win 100 times your money. Available in states like Texas, California, and 30 more, plus Canada. Deposit match with code all caps Timbo and get $100 free when you put $100 in. That's code Timbo, and we got Jake Paul versus Mike Perry coming up here. Look out for my stories on Snapchat and Instagram. I'm going to be putting my picks on that. Make some moolah. That's PrizePicks code Timbo. You won't regret it. That's PrizePicks, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're here with one of the greatest fighters to ever live, Chael P. Sonnen, and he stands at a 6 foot, 1 inch tall, and he's looking like he's weighing around 230. Am I right?
On the dot. I weigh in every day. I have a digital scale in my bathroom. On the dot. Now, there's some tenths in there somewhere, but that's actually really impressive. And I tell people that I could work at the fair. I can size somebody up and tell them what they weigh within a couple pounds too. That's just a thing that we learn over time, man. That's the thing of being at enough weigh-ins and wondering who's in your bracket. Anyway, that's funny that you got that perfectly right. Well done.
Thank you. You're looking pretty fit. You didn't grow a set of tits, or you're not looking fat. So what's your training days like nowadays? You got to be ready to rumble all the time just in case you run into Jorge Masvidal, huh?
You have no idea how big of a compliment that is, particularly from you. I really appreciate you saying that. And I just had that fight. I went over to Brazil and boxed with Anderson. Mm-hmm. And I mean, boy, is boxing training hard. Oh my goodness, it is a different training, but that is a really difficult thing. You know, all the stairs, you get one of those coaches. They got to have the stairs. You're jumping, 6, 7 rounds of jump rope as a cool down. It's just, the ab work. We were doing something called Hagglers, where you lay flat, but as you bring your elbows in, your knees come up as well, and then you got to straighten out to a plank. If you touch your heels, you got to start over. Man, that feels like something you would do to a 10-year-old kid, like the heel thing. Nope. Clayton started over with me. I got to 40 before and had to start over. Yeah. Hard training, but it made the tits go away, as you noticed.
Yeah, it did. Hey, but you got those big pipes on you. You got those forearms and those big pipes from grappling and wrestling, doing jiu-jitsu, and I've seen you get in the gi a little bit, and then you go back to boxing, and you got all this weight on your pipes. So I'm sure that was hard.
It was. It really was difficult. And he is such a good fighter, by the way. Like, I had this really great thing happen to me, which is I buried the hatchet with Anderson Silva, which I did not know was possible. I thought I was going to have to go the rest of my life. There was a video, and it was Muhammad Ali lighting the Olympic torch. This is all the way back in 96. But the Olympics were in Atlanta on American soil. So Muhammad Ali lights the torch, and they interviewed Joe Frazier. And Joe Frazier said, if I could have got to him, I would have pushed him in and watched him burn. And I remember thinking, oh my God, you guys haven't let that go? Like, You got to grow up. You got to let that go. And then it happened to me. And I couldn't let it go. But now, things are behind us.
Yeah, I mean, that's freaking badass. Because I remember, coming down and training with you. It was right after you beat up Anderson the first time, and you were getting ready for the second fight. And your training camp, it seemed like it changed quite a bit. Did you have Matt Linlin running your first training camp for that first bout?
Yes, and at Team Quest, it was different. We had a really good group of guys, yourself included, and we get together every day at 3. And before we left, we worked really hard. But there's not anything else I can necessarily say. Robert Fall has started to change that over time and make it more structured. But my point being, we show up a lot of days at 3, and maybe there wouldn't be anybody in there. And so you just be on the heavy bag. You never got the call. There wasn't a coach 2 call or somebody. I had the UFC come in. There's a great guy named Zach George, if you'll remember him. He was actually in the room several times when you came up.
Mhm.
Smaller guy, he used to fight at 145 pounds. And Zach came out, it was for 3 days in a row, he was the only one there. So he and I worked out, we sparred, but it happened to be the 3 days that the UFC sent a film crew to do the countdown show. And when that got back to Vegas and Dana saw it, he called and said, I can't use any of that. You're sparring with a 145 pounder while I'm trying to sell this fight. He's like, all of that. He was furious. He was scolding me, and I never had thought about it till he said it. I didn't think anything about sparring with Zach. That's how it worked at Quest. You showed up, whoever was there you worked out with, maybe you get some instruction along the way. And then that second workout of the day, the heavy bag or a mitt workout, that was fully on you. That was on you to line up and do everything. That wasn't part of what the coaches would oversee at that time. That was very normal at that time.
Mm-hmm. And I remember you had Yushin Okami come out, and I remember you had a story where I think Yushin came and scared your mother.
Yushin Okami would stay at my mom's, and that still happens. He hasn't been here in about 3 years, but apparently Yushin is still busy. He's still either training or he's looking for fights. He's doing some stunt works in Japan. At any rate, to your point, my mother lives alone, so my old bedroom became Yushin's room, and he was coming out a lot. Like one time he stayed for 3 months. And my mom is a widow. Like it's really exciting for her when Yushin comes. I mean, she gets high on life. She goes and buys a bunch of food. She does, like, tries to bribe him to stay, and that's how much she enjoys him. But my mother doesn't have a door that locks. It's a code. You type in a code. It's like beep beep beep, and then the door opens. So Yushin has the code. So Yushin, relevant to the story, Yushin never needs to communicate with my mom because he can always get into the house because he knows the code. Well, for reasons unknown, he shows up at like 1 a.m. And one thing about Yushin is he would send us an email. There was no form of communication. He never learned English, and we never learned a word of Japanese. He would send an email before he came. But, Tim, he must not have had a computer because he would send it from the Narita airport before getting on the plane. So with the time change, like you're asleep. You're asleep when this email comes. You would never know. He walks in the door at 1 a.m. And yes, my mother was a trap shooting champion. She had won 11 times. She was actually looked at for the Olympic team, and she was out of time. She tried to get to a window, and the window wouldn't open. She had ran out of time, so she grabbed the gun. And the universal sound for stop is shh, shh. Like, because of Hollywood, that is the number one most intimidating sound that anyone can hear. And that is what, and he had a friend with him, and he was at her keypad trying to type to turn the alarm off for the house. And they were talking in Japanese, like they were trying to get this thing done. And when that thing went, shh, it went silent. And she goes, Yushin? And he said like every word of English he knew. Like, Yushin Okami, hello, thank you, good morning, Yushin Okami. Yeah, it's a whole story. He said, I'll be right there.
That's too good. So what's a day in the life like for Chael P right now? Maybe a Monday. You wake up.
And don't forget, in Japan, they don't have guns. Yeah. Not even the police.
Yeah.
So it's an extra terrifying thing for a Japanese guy to hear. All right, I'll get off the story. That's just one that I love to reminisce about.
Yeah.
A day in the life.
Yep.
A day in the life. I'm bored. Tim, I'm bored. I don't have... My son got into baseball, and I never played baseball. So we have a coach, and he'll do private lessons. And it's only 30 minutes, but it's right to the point, and we leave with some kind of a new skill. And then we can go right from there to the park, and then he and I can practice the skill for about another 45 minutes. But that's been very fun because I never played baseball. I thought you just grabbed the ball as fast as you can and you threw it as straight as you can. And when it came at you, you hit it as hard as you can. I didn't know that there was actual skills. I mean, look, yesterday's skill, you don't grab the ball up here. Wherever the ball goes, you put the glove right in front of your chest. Right here's where you want to catch a ball. So you might have to slide this way and you might have to slide this way. And they actually hold a stance out on the baseball field. They got their knees bent so that they can catch the ball here. That might sound small to you, but this was the skill we just learned. And for me, I didn't think I would have fun with baseball. That's why I did not play it myself. But now that I learn how many strategies there are, now I learn about the way you hold the bat and why your elbow goes here and that your shoulder stays square and you don't tip them. I'm in. I never respected baseball players as athletes because I didn't know they did anything athletic. That has completely changed after 2 private lessons with Coach Michael Gold.
Damn, that's badass. So do you ever throw on the kimono and head down to the dojo once in a while?
I do for black belt ceremonies. When somebody is getting their black belt, then I go in and try to be part of that. But no, I have not. I never thought that I'd be that person either. I thought like I would, I'll be a fighter for a little while, but I'll be a athlete or a martial artist my whole life, and it just didn't work that way. I used to tease people that would walk on a treadmill. Like, my mother would go for exercise, but she would go in the very clothes she was wearing that day, and when she came back, she didn't need to change them because there was no sweat. I made fun of that. It's what I do now. Sometimes we'll be driving home, and I'll tell my wife, hey, you let me out here, and, it's an extra mile, but I'll walk it uphill and then feel like I've good about myself. I need to get off that. When you're taking testosterone and you don't lift, that's weird. If you're taking that, you've got to lift. Mm-hmm. I quit lifting.
And how's your diet? Do you keep it pretty clean? Do you keep it to meats, or what do you do for your foods?
I know I'm being talkative today, Tim. I have missed you. I have been so proud of you and watching your success and everything that happens, the way that you have become a leader of men, and I knew that about you. I knew you had that skill, I believe, before you had it. I saw and no, this is a leader. And that's a rare thing. When you can walk into a room of MMA guys, they are going to look to somebody. And I don't know that you knew that it was you, but it was. There was a way when you got out of the car. There was a way that you carried your bag in. There was a way that the guys were with where they looked to you. You just were. You were that guy. And to be able to take it as far as you have, and now everybody knows you. They gave you the nickname of Timbo. I mean, I'm just saying, it's awesome. Suga Sean O'Malley, I believe, is the biggest star in MMA. You could argue one other guy, but you couldn't argue two. He is, and there you are with them the whole time. And Sean has been so loyal. Sean has been so loyal to make sure when photos go out of him, you're in them. Sean has been so loyal to make sure when a story about him and his training goes out, you're included. And I love it. It makes me feel good, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, dude. That's one of the best fucking compliments ever. And I'm just blessed. I mean, you see athletes all the time. I was thinking about this morning when I was on my air diet. You see athletes all the time. It's like if they could go, they go to any gym and they're going to become a champion. With Sean, I do think he was a special athlete, but he was a scrub. He didn't know how to do his dishes. He didn't know how to cook his own food. He didn't know how to do his own laundry. And I wanted to kick him out. I wanted to whoop his ass. He pissed me off so bad. I'm like, this kid doesn't know how to fucking live. He's a disrespectful little shit. But then I realized he didn't even know how to live on his own. He lived like a spoiled child. So I taught him how to live. And I do think that helped, because I do think if I wasn't able to find him, he would have pissed a lot of people off. They would have kicked him out. He would have went back to Montana and got on the meth.
All right, wait a minute. So he stayed with you and did not know how to, like, pitch in with household chores?
Yeah, nothing. And I said, if you don't do these dishes, you don't get to use them. And he was being a stubborn little brat. And I said, well, you don't get to use the dishes now. And he's trying to send videos to his friends of him eating a burrito on a napkin, trying to make him feel sorry for himself. He didn't know how to do his laundry. He didn't know how to clean his bathroom. He barely knew how to brush his teeth. I had to remind him every day.
And is that because he grew up so poor that he didn't learn, or so rich that he didn't learn? How did he not get those skills?
He had a mother who did every single thing for him.
Yep.
And that was the way it was. But I was thinking with that, I'm like, he is a special athlete, and I'm lucky. I mean, we have a great friendship. He listens to me. He trusts me, and it is a pretty special thing. So, but I appreciate the compliment big time.
If you had to answer a question really candidly, did he overperform, or another way to ask it, were you surprised with how good it turned out he was in that fight with Vera? I mean, when he ran away with each round, was there a part of you going, what's happening here? Vera's still coming on. This isn't the best Vera yet. He's waiting. He's coming. Like, that night could have gone better. Did you know he was that good?
Yes, 100%. 100%. We spar guys that are that good. We spar kickboxers that are good. We spar guys with that kind of cardio, with that level of athleticism, and he makes them look terrible in the gym. They don't even touch him. The fear of the unknown, that's what I was fearful of, because I was the same amount of confident in their first fight, and he fucking tripped on the banana peel or whatever.
Sure.
But so how you do it? You wake up, what do you do first thing in the morning? Do you have a fat steak, or do you have a oatmeal?
First thing in the morning, I would not consider myself a morning guy. I love night times. Back when I used to train, I would do my last workout at like 11 p.m. or 12, just because I felt so good at that time. So I drag in the morning. I got to get up every day at the same time. 6:30. My son comes in that room at 6:30, and he's up. He's been up since 5. He just waits till the time, and he's full of energy when he gets up. My wife is the same way. She was a cheerleader in high school. She could wake up and do a cheer first thing in the morning. Yay, morning. And I hate it, and I hate their positivity. I hate everything about it in the morning. But 6:30 is the answer nonetheless, and we got a couple of dogs. Right away, they've got to get outside, get the coffee brewing, 2 cups, one for my wife and I, turn on the news, and kind of get the day going. I also got into stocks when I retired. Options and puts, and there's just different things. I'm throwing those words at you because it was a whole vernacular that I did not know about, and I was really interested. And but that opens at 6:30 in the morning. If you want to put any trades in, there's certain ones that you have to do. Then you can't put into the system. So I try to do that every morning as a way of staying disciplined. That's really the number one thing. If I get up at 6:30 out of discipline, I might be awake before that, but I stay in bed. I'll toss around. 6:30, my feet are on the ground.
And then you hit your caffeine first time of the day. You do caffeine twice a day, or do you usually just do it in the morning?
I usually do it just in the morning. And I've never felt that it has affected me, by the way. Caffeine or no caffeine, placebo-wise, you got to have that to start your day. There's something out there called kratom. It's a tea, kratom, some people call it. It's a tea. I have felt an energy from that. But then my mom says, hey, Chael, if you've got something that actually is making you feel that way, you've got a drug. I'm like, Mom, it's a tea, like a 5-year-old can buy. She goes, it's too new. If it actually does make you feel something, you want to be real careful taking that. So I do the caffeine hit in the morning, but I don't get a lot from it. Cold shower will get me going, and a workout will get me going.
So because you started YouTube now, and for my followers out there, if you don't follow Chael's page, you're missing out. It's the best MMA page out there. For YouTube, you started probably, about 3 years ago now?
Yeah, man, the way time flies. Golly, I think it was even more than that. I think it was 5. YouTube will send you an award, but it's only at certain parts of the process. And I thought we got a plaque for 5 years at it. I thought. So, yeah, man, but it flies. But, well, you know what? No, you are correct. It was 3 years. 5 years ago, I started a podcast, but I didn't film it. It was audio only. It was 3 years ago, to your point, that we started capturing the visual side and putting that out. I didn't know people watched things that way. I did not understand how powerful devices. Like, my son doesn't watch TV. He doesn't even know. My son asked me last night, what channel is NBC? So when I say he doesn't watch TV, it's literal. But he's on that device all day. He knows what's going on. They're advertising to him. He's hip to all the latest trends, but it all comes from YouTube.
Yeah, and did you have a buddy who kind of talked you into the YouTube, or were you wanting to get on it?
No, I had a buddy, Ryan, who is now my partner, Ryan. He was doing, I don't know that we planned for it to be a business. Maybe he did see that, but I couldn't imagine, like, Ryan, the audio's already out there. Like, nobody's going to sit and, that's just not what people do. And he said, hey, man, you're making yourself look outdated. It's a really popular thing. If you're doing it anyway, if you're sitting there and you're doing it anyway, let me just bring a camera in. What I do with it from there, you don't ever have to worry about. You go do it. I'll handle the cameras. And we brought it in. Now we got Ethan, and we cut the whole thing up. And yeah, it turned into a thing.
That's freaking awesome. That's freaking awesome. You're killing it. So what's the importance?
Can I ask you a question? Can I go way off grid and ask you a question? I don't. If you don't like this topic, you just get right off it because I know what I'm doing to you. But man, they shot Trump the other day. They tried to kill a man, and I was watching. I don't want to see a man get killed. I'm not into that. And it doesn't matter if I like him or not. I don't want to see his brains. I don't want to see somebody's grandfather dead. Our world would be so vastly different, and I don't know how, but that would have killed the market. That would have started foreign wars that think, okay, we can do, and I'm just sharing with you, it's almost like we've moved on. It's only been 3 days, but it's almost like that was behind us, and now we're to the point of getting conspiracies and all these different theories coming out. It's like, man, that was somebody's dad, and his kids were there, and it was a machine gun, an AR-15. It hit him in the ear, 1 inch, and the world as you and I know it is different. How drastically, but it's different.
And what are the chances that was literally just a scrubby little kid, no one behind it, that he crawled up on that roof and did that? What's your thoughts on that? Who was behind it?
Okay. It definitely could be. But boy, there's a few similarities. I mean, if I had a wish, and I love a conspiracy like anybody else. I don't necessarily believe them, but I do enjoy hearing them, and I'll hear all of these out as well. If you go back, though, to JFK and this guy, Oswald, I went to that actual site in Dallas. I saw the book suppository. I saw the grassy knoll. I saw the fence. And if you stand there, all you got to do is kind of turn your head. It's all real close, all the way down to the jail that Jack Ruby went in and shot him. All these things that you hear about in history, it makes you think that it's all spread out, but it's not. If you stand there, you go, all right, there's a 7th floor building. All right, here's where the president, you don't have to move. You go, okay, that's what they meant by grassy knoll. And it's one of these things where you can go and start piecing things together real quick. And if you do that, you're not going to find out who killed JFK, but you will, for sure, understand it was not Oswald. You will understand that because there's a shot that he can take if you know anything about ballistics, and he doesn't take it. He waits until the car turns. Why would he possibly let it turn? And then the way the shots were, it came through his head, and there's a still photo. It's just literally his head and his hair, and it's, oh gosh, it's coming out the back. I wish I hadn't seen it. And I'm only sharing that. How many things about that lowly scrub that you just described sound a lot like Oswald? And if I could get my way, if I could go back and get my way on one thing, we wouldn't have killed him. If we could go back and somehow have shot him, but we had him. We had him in custody, and we were going to be able to question him. How fast they'd have got to him as fast as they got to Oswald. They'd have got to him as fast as they got to Epstein. The difference is everyone would be watching. All the world would be demanding you put a camera on him 24/7. We will all help you with security. And what they would have done had they not killed him, that, Timbo, truly would be one of the most eye-opening events ever.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was excited to talk to you about that topic because I'm not the smartest political guy, but thankful for Elon. Thankful for Elon that he bought that X and he can let people speak freely, because without him, then who knows what we'd be watching. We'd be watching CNN, and that's about it.
Yeah, what an unlikely hero he turned out to be. I mean, he's as left as they get. I mean, the whole, hey, energy's a problem and you're going to hurt the client. I mean, that pretty clearly goes to the very side. And then he got what's the expression? His panties in a bunch over the free expression. And we sure have embraced him and we love him. But he's South African. I mean, He's not in America. As much as he's getting involved and he's changing America and he's giving all these jobs. And I mean, it's just a very unlikely hero. That's all I'm saying. And thank goodness he exists. Thank goodness he stepped forward with this ideal and had the money to back it up, because there was nobody else. It was only him. Jack Dorsey would have never got us to this spot. He was on the other side of it. Mm-hmm. Incredible thing. Elon has really done an incredible, not to mention he's shooting rockets into space. He's driving cars that don't have even engines. What a brilliant mind.
And you ever took a Tesla for a spin?
Yes. Yeah. I put in for the Cybertruck, and it was $100 to put in for it. And I actually reserved 2. I thought by the time they get them here, if they honor the price that they're locked in, I could make money on some cars. I really thought that. And boy, what have I ever. $44,000 is what I'm locked in for 2, and they're going for like $125. But it was time to step up. They call me, they've got it, and you've got to take action now. I mean, I think you have like 24 hours. From the time the call's in, yes, no with the deposit, we'll have it in your driveway, or we go to someone else. I chickened out. I think they're really cool looking, but almost a little bit too much. Like, I like attention for sure, but I don't want people to know that I'm seeking it. Like, I'll find a way to go seek it, but I want to act like I'm not. And I just felt like the Cybertruck would make it too obvious.
Yeah, throw on an affliction shirt, head into Cybertruck, and take off.
Or you'll eventually get the jerk. You remember the Hummer? Like, a Hummer's enough. You don't then have to have the yellow Hummer. Like, just having the Hummer for it's enough. But it's one of those things. My neighbor got one. I love it. My kids and I, we go over and look at it. We go over and sit in it and took pictures. Like, it's a special machine.
I was going to bring this up. Henry Cejudo and Colby Covington, not many people know it, but I mean, the importance of creating a personality in MMA. I remember Henry Cejudo used to come out and do that American thing, like and be Mr. America, and you made fun of him. You really grilled him. And in Colby was kind of quiet at first, but I think you just had the biggest impact on those guys and really made those guys some money. If it wasn't for you helping out Henry Cejudo, he wouldn't have made a dime over 10-10 his whole career, but he started to let loose a bit. And I think people are realizing that more and more. To make some bread in the game, got to create a personality. What do you think?
Yes, for sure, what you said. And I love the compliment you gave me to Henry, because he paid me that somewhere along the line, and it made me feel good. It's like, wait a minute, I did have a hand in your career, and he acknowledged it. What a great thing to tell somebody. I got to tell you, though, I'm looking forward as a fan. People say many times, and they really mean it, they don't understand this about themselves. They say, all it's about is a fight. That is all I care about. This guy's talking, he talked his way into it, and he should have. I only care about the fight. And I would challenge them, like, okay, just to find out if that's true, the next time you watch a fight, regardless if you have friends over with the situation, put it on mute. Just watch it and put it on mute. But it's a very, very different experience. And I just use that simple example to let people know sometimes they don't even know it about themselves. But we have weigh-ins, and we have press conferences, and we have all of these things that provide a metric. On YouTube, it's not only audited, it's publicly audited, and we can go and just look at those. Mm-hmm. The one where O'Malley and Strickland and Duplessis, just for example, go check the numbers on that. It's crazy, but that proves that character and personalities matter. Those press conferences, Floyd versus Conor, they did 4 of them around the world. They sold them all out. So you've got all these fight fans that came knowing full well there is 0 chance of a fight to break out, but there was something else. And I'm stating the obvious, but it's because some people still don't realize it. They still don't realize that it really is important. I'll see him get a microphone. Boom, there's your golden opportunity. If you missed every other shot, but Joe Rogan puts that microphone, there's your opportunity. And Tim, a lot of people will say when it comes to my next opponent, I don't care. And the message, of course, is, I'm so tough, I'll fight anybody. I'll be no problem to work with in the back. That's the message. But the words were, I don't care. And if you don't care who your next fight is, how can I?
100%. So back in the day, you used to lose by triangle, and you said you talked to a sports psychologist and they helped you out a bit.
They nicknamed me at the gym. Only Dan Henderson. It didn't really catch on. Isosceles. Like isosceles, this form of a triangle. That was so embarrassing. And I knew that I didn't have a triangle problem. I had been to Abu Dhabi twice. I was never even close to being caught in a triangle. I go to practice every day. It was not even close. See that coming? Come on. Mm-hmm. And it was a way to lose. It was a way to get out safely. It was something that I had discovered, and my mind would only go there for like a half a second. Mm-hmm. But if I didn't fight that voice in that half a second, right, we're all done. Mm-hmm. And everybody deals with that. That's nothing new, even if I've identified it. But I didn't identify it. I went to see the sports psychologist, and it was a birthday gift. This gal had got that for me as a gift. She had paid him and got me the address, and I went and sat down. And he put that thing together so fast, he pulled up my record, he looks at it, and he says, Chael, you realize you've lost 4 fights? He said, okay, well, you lost them all 7.5 minutes in. He said, halfway through the second round, you're losing the same way, which is triangle. He's like, I see this all the time in sport, but this voice that you got to deal with, that voice starts coming at you about halfway through the second round, so let's work on that. And that's all that we did. We worked on just getting through that round. I don't think I've ever lost a final round of a fight, whether it was a 5th round or a 3rd round. And if I have, okay, but I don't think I have. There was something about, when the barn was in sight and you could dig a little deeper and you could push through, and it really helped me. Like what all happened when I was under, it was hypnosis. And hypnosis, some people will laugh at. Hypnosis is suggestion. That's all it is. You must play along. You must, me as I'm watching the watch, I must play along. I must go along with it. First time I was hypnotized, there was this coach, and we're out in Minnesota in the dorms, and we're out there training for the Pan American Games. So it's just wrestlers. The only thing you have to look forward to is running an hour to the gym to train in 100-degree temperature, fighting mosquitoes, and run back. Like, there's no TVs in there. It's brutal. So we all get together, try to entertain ourselves in some fashion, and this coach is a hypnotist, and he uses me. And he openly tells me, Chael, if you fight this, we have nothing. But if you go along with me, we're going to have a neat experience. So he draws a little dot on the wall and tells me to stare at it, and he comes over and he puts a quarter on my head, which it turned out he actually didn't draw a dot. It turned out there was no quarter. But I'm focused, and it's all I can feel, and this is all I can see, and I played along. The whole thing was silly. But at one point, he had me put my heels, just my heels, on a chair, nothing in between, then a second chair, just the top part of my head, which there was never a time in my life I could do that for you for 1 single second. And he had me do that, and then he convinced me that I was a barbell. So where my hips would be saying, boom, I'm straight as a barb, a piece of steel, I'm iron, I'm a barbell. And I was only there for a little bit of time, and they moved on and did something else. And then when he woke me up and said something, I'm supposed to and bark like a dog. I'm playing along. The whole thing is silly. It's hard for me to not wake up. It's hard for me to not laugh at certain points. I'm an actor. I'm playing. But when he wakes me up, the only thing I cannot explain to you, I am dripping in wet. I've got jeans on my I'm dripping in wet like I'd been put in a pool. Well, this barbell business I told you about, it was not for a split second. He left me there for 8 minutes. And apparently that's like every muscle in your body to do that. I was stiff as a bar, and these guys had videoed it, and they were showing me after. So where I thought I was playing along, at some point I went in to the hypnotic state, and it was just this incredible thing. I tell you that just in case you hear these wild stories or people use it to stop chewing tobacco or for cigarettes. It's like, hey, I'm not guaranteeing it will work for you, but if you know that it's suggestion, and you know that, yeah, there's a level of playing along, there's another level that can get in your mind and help you. And I didn't lose a fight again after that. I damn sure didn't lose it in the second round, but I mean, I did not lose a fight again. I don't have anything else to tie it to, Tim, except that experience with Dr. Versteg.
And did you find yourself having those thoughts in fights when they were going bad a little bit? Like, God, I could put myself in the triangle, and you countered it, or the thought wouldn't even come anymore?
It still came, and it wasn't just as simple if something changed in my head, but it definitely created an awareness. Like I'll give you an example. When I would throw a fight, every fighter does, but to speak, when I would throw a fight, when I decided we got to get out of here, and Tim, that would happen because I'd be overperforming. I'd be beating somebody that's ranked number 1 in the world, and nobody even knows what my name is. It's one of these things where this isn't supposed to happen, which means it's not going to happen. It means it's going to change. And boy, that could be awful when this guy really comes on. Like it was these weird things that were happening to me when I was a young fighter. But when I would throw a fight, I only knew how to do it in one position. I only knew how to do it on the ground. And I only knew how to give a triangle and then act to the referee. Oh, come on, what? And that was the only one I knew. I didn't know how to give an arm bar. Like I didn't know the extent on an arm before it snaps versus, you looking like I got caught. I only knew that one position. And the doctor asked me, he said, could you throw a fight on your feet? I said, no, I wouldn't even know how. I wouldn't even know how to get hit and then pretend I've seen guys do it, but no, I wouldn't know how. He goes, all right, anytime you start to know that's coming, stand up. Retake him down if you have to. Stand up, kick, jump back in the group. And when that starts to happen and you start thinking, oh, this will look real if I let my arm go in there, stand up. And it really was true for me. I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to pretend. Who was the guy? Bruce Seldon, if you're old enough to remember him. Mike Tyson threw a punch. That thing was this far from Bruce, and Bruce, oh man, he's down and he's out.
Okay, so who is the biggest threat to John Jones besides you? Stipe, Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira, skill-wise, and who do you think could actually beat him? My opinion, Stipe wrestled Division I. He's a very good boxer. People count him out just because he's old, but he hasn't fought in 4 years. We got Tom Aspinall, a freak of an athlete, huge, and then we got Alex Pereira, one of the most dangerous left hooks in the game. Give it to me.
Timbo. When you brought up Stipe, and I'm so glad that you say 4 years, it will be 1 month short of 4 years. when this fight happens. I mean, this is stunning that this is the fight that we're waiting for. And by the way, I check my tongue when I talk about Stipe. That guy's a superhero. Yep. If God came to me and said, what do you want your son to be? And one of the options was Stipe, I would yes, please, boom, yes. But you've got a guy in our number one contender, a number one contender that we are waiting for. In his last fight, they had to wake him up to let him know that he was no longer the champion. And that was 4 years ago. I'm just sharing, like, it's a surprising match that we're waiting for. We're waiting this long. Then you've got John Jones. He will have fought only one time in 4 years by the time they get in there, and that was for 4 minutes against Surreal. So I more than anything, I'm surprised that that's the one. Now, with all that said, Stipe has gained 20 pounds, and it's very relevant to the story, and I don't hear people talking about it. I can get a good audience with Stipe's wife. She helps to manage him, but she might be the most responsive manager out there. And she told me, we changed the way I'm cooking for him, the way that he's training. And I said, well, what's he up to? And she said about 252 to 253. The right way, though, like if you ever see, it's the right way. To remind you, and why I bring that up, the night that he got carried out against Francis, he weighed in at 233. So 20 pounds of iron on Stipe is interesting. And you want to know who I think the hardest matchup for John is? Just X's and O's skill-wise. Curtis Blaydes. And I'm not going to get anywhere with that. Like, no one is asking to see that fight. But I do think that Curtis, with the link, with the kickboxing, John's highest achievement in wrestling was something called the Junior National Championship. Mm-hmm. Curtis won the same one. John did it at 190 pounds, and Curtis did it at heavyweight. So I'm just offering that there are some guys that are matchup issues, but the day that you could just dismiss Alex Pereira, like, I've done it for almost all of his fights. This guy's a black belt in nothing. He has an amateur record. I literally know amateurs that have done this sport as many times as he has. But when I talk about he doesn't have a black belt, he's got a gold belt. In fact, he's got 2 of them. Mm-hmm. So to act as though he's not the one that's going to find a way, that's going to strategize, that's going to break it down, I'm going, of all those names, as silly as it might sound, Alex Pereira.
Yeah, I wonder what Dana and Hunter's convos are about that. I mean, you see Stipe, how many times he's got the belt, all these world championships, John Jones too. So on paper, it looks good, but I'm curious what Dana and Hunter talk about, because who wouldn't want to see that?
No, I agree. And by the way, if Pereira was to do that, I feel as though it would end the conversation, whether we like it or not. I feel like our days of arguing about GOAT come to an end for a while. Like, if he goes champ, I feel like when we get ready to say GOAT, for at least for a period of time, we just say Alex Pereira. Well, I don't know if this guy's the GOAT. Well, I don't know if this guy's Alex Pereira, but I feel like he will have earned that. And I think that John Jones has a big one still out there. I know people love to discuss his name now, but I'm just saying, to end the argument, John was the youngest champion ever. If John can become the oldest champion ever, and he bookends that career, it would seem to me that the debate would be done until somebody else came along. Hey, can I ask you a question? Are you seeing this piece that the UFC put out on Khabib? It's Khabib and Conor's fight, but they re-edited it and cut it out and then put it out for free. Did you see this a couple days ago?
And it was no commentary, right?
No commentary. It was Khabib talking trash. Like, if you get done watching it, it does one thing. It makes Khabib look really cool. Like, it's a really cool piece on Khabib. It doesn't make Conor look bad. It doesn't make Dylan Dennis look bad. But it does do one thing. It makes Khabib look really cool. When is the last time you've seen the UFC edit an old video, repackage it, and put it out if they weren't building a fight? I mean, when they release Free Fight or something, you could see where they would do that if it made Conor look good, because allegedly he's still under contract and allegedly he's going to fight again. When is the last time you saw the guy who you can make no more money on go over by choice against the guy you still have left? Something is going on with Khabib. That's my message to you.
And I always watch. I always keep updated on his vlogs and stuff and how they're training, what they're doing. And I was watching the vlog with Umar. He's not looking fat. He's looking pretty slimmed up when they run around with the basketball. He's looking slimmed up, like he's in shape. I think you're right.
And you read these headlines about different things going on with Khabib or Khabib's gym or Russia coming in and seizing and investigating. They're not all perfectly done, but there is a large amount of truth to that. Like there is some stuff going on with his life, as silly as I believe it will turn out to be. But they are doing that, and it does become a problem. And they did freeze his bank accounts. And I only offer that to share with you. People have different motivations for different reasons, and it would not be outlandish at all to think a guy who retired because he had enough to retire, if somebody took it, that he would return to the factory. Like, that is all perfectly reasonable. That would make sense, in fact. And then all of a sudden, this piece comes out. Oh, and by the way, if Khabib was to come back, make no mistake, it's against Conor. He's not going to come back and challenge Islam's spot. He's not going to come back and challenge for Lee. It's going to be something fun for one night. And there's really only one guy to do that with. Oh, and what a coincidence. They happened to put a video out, a repackaged video. This wasn't just Persari and gang releasing something they've got sitting over on the library at Fight Pass. They brought it back in, they re-edited it, and they put it out. I don't know why they did that, but they didn't just do that. It was done for a reason, and I cannot see any gain there or anyone that gets promoted except for Khabib.
God, poor Michael Chandler, huh?
Well, look at you and I. We're sitting here. We're not willing to say that scruffy 20-year-old shooter was a conspiracy theory, but here we are convinced that this is one. And, I think we're right. I'm not ready to tell you or announce over Khabib's coming back. But I am ready to tell you for sure, and of course I'm making phone calls on the side and calling people at home. There is something going on. That part I can say. He is in the gym a little more. The intensity has gone up. He has not told anybody, including his inner circle, but something. The word something is going on with Khabib. Keep your eye on it.
Okay, we got Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. Mike Perry's been fighting bare knuckles. It's been 6 rounds, 2-minute rounds with bare knuckles, and it's going to be an 8-round fight. 3-minute rounds, 8 rounds. Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. Who you got?
Okay. I mean, did Jake Paul win or what? I mean, he absolutely. We were teasing. We were dismissed. He better be fighting old guys. He better be fighting NBA players. Now he's the favorite over Perry, who's the face of an organization. He's got Nate Diaz, one of our biggest stars, 2 weeks ago, calls him out. I mean, it used to be you laughed at if he called you. Now he's calling him out, and I'm just saying, what an incredible job done by Jake Paul. Now here's the problem. They sparred. Jake Paul has gotten better over the years. We know that for sure. They sparred, he and Perry, many years ago. Perry has offered the fact that they sparred, and Paul's kind of stayed away from it. And if you listen to Perry, he didn't go in there and whip Paul. He said that Paul was bigger. He said, so it was kind of, I've gotten bigger over time. And he goes, but one of my concerns is, so has he. I don't know that we've closed the gap. He's like, but this guy didn't whip me or anything. I could do fine with him. And it's those comments that kind of made me go, oh, wow. So you kind of know what you're getting into, and you feel like you have a problem here. And then Paul didn't really speak on it, where most guys would. Go, I kicked his ass. And you remember who got into that? It was Dillashaw and Garbrandt. There was these gym stories, and both sides were coming out. Then there were some old teammates that remembered it both ways. This wasn't like that. I wish they wouldn't have mentioned it. I felt like it pulled down from the fight. If I have to give you a name with gloves on, I know Perry can go with him. But I don't know that Perry can beat him. And experience does matter. This is a different sport. You take the gloves off. It's much like jiu-jitsu. You take the gi off. You got something close. But it's different. I got to give the edge to Paul.
I agree. We got a couple weeks out here. We got CJI versus ADCC. Which one you tuning into?
Jeez, I wish that wasn't happening. I really do. I feel our industry owes Abu Dhabi in regards to, if Abu Dhabi didn't exist, our industry is in a very different spot. We don't have any stars, for example. Anybody that's a star could go around and sell a seminar, put their face on a DVD while wearing a gi. All came through Abu Dhabi. Craig Jones himself got his name out of Abu Dhabi. Now, okay, let's set that aside. Let's get back to cold, hard capitalism. Boy, is it ever fun. I mean, as a fan and you're sitting back, the drama and everything going on between these two. I did have one very big concern, which there's a crypto guy backing Craig, and my concern was he doesn't put up the crypto when it's time. It's Craig's name. It's Craig, and everybody's looking around. And in the world of crypto, that's happened many times. Craig actually saw that, made the guy convert it to cash, and he has the actual cash. He claims. And allegedly, he walked into Joe Rogan and dumped $1 million on Joe's desk. So my point is, they are likely to pull it off. But when next year rolls around, or I guess they go every 2 years, we'll see. I'm very confident that Abu Dhabi will be here. I'm very confident that they do have a plan that is sustainable where they can get to the next one. And I know Craig's having a lot of fun. And we'll just see, though, if there's enough fans and enough money that could come in and support the fun. A little bit of a political answer, but that is my answer. And really, I wish it wasn't happening. I wish those guys weren't fighting.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what I'm going to watch either. We're probably going to stay here in Phoenix, watch it on the TV, and we got to stay dialed in because we got.
That's coming right up, right?
That's coming up August 15th, I believe.
Okay.
August
and
15th.
What happens with Gordon? Gordon is going to be in the super fight, like the one that he had with Galvão. He's going to be in the super fight, but will he also enter the tournament?
I think so. I mean, probably depends how his stomach issues are doing, but that's what he said in the past. He's going to enter the 99 plus kg plus the super match.
Yeah. And what about the absolute? Like, could he go? I think that would disqualify him, because if he won that, then he'd have to fight himself in the next super match. But could he do 99 plus? Could he do the absolute and then also do the super match? That's not what he did last time, right? He did not go through the absolute.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's where Yuri came from.
Yep, and some of his toughest matches, I mean, they moved over to CJI, so I guess we'll see. One thing that kind of pissed me off, I've always been a big fan of Firas Zahabi, and like, he's a very smart guy, intellectual guy. I popped into one of his live streams the other day, and he was saying if Dan Henderson wasn't on TRT, that he could beat him in a fist fight. I was like, oh my God. People don't not know how dangerous Dan Henderson was.
Yeah, no, he most definitely was. But I've never heard anybody having heat with Dan Henderson. So I wonder what the backstory with Firas, and I wonder what the genesis of that statement was.
And because you got a lot of sparring with Hendo back in the day, did he ever club you with those right hands?
Yes, he did. And it was always awkward where it's like, I have never said this to a sparring partner, but the closest I've ever got was him. Hey, you've got to stop doing, like, you're ruining the workout. Like, you're ruining, and it's the same setup every time. He just changes elevation, and then one time he changes and pops up and throws the right hand. I fell for it every time. I fell for it every single day. I would eat that right hand, but it would change sparring. Now there's a fear, or there's a worry, or it was hard to move because you're so on. Not to mention, if he hit, who wants to hit that hard in practice? And I never did say it to him, but yes, I've been the victim of that for sure. And I mean, what a tool, though. You got a guy just on the resume. He's got 2 Olympic teams in wrestling. Just hearing that, like, you don't have to feel his wrestling. When you hear that, it's going to create a massive advantage for him. And then you find out he's got this weapon on his feet that they've named the H-bomb. I mean, there was really a mystique that followed Dan Henderson for a while, man. It was quite a reputation. Daniel Cormier had to deal with it. Daniel finally couldn't take him down, and they were on their feet, and Dan was changing elevation. I was in the arena, and the whole crowd started just on the mere idea that he might land it, and upset the younger Daniel. It was quite a punch.
And then we had Matt Lindland, Olympic silver medalist in Greco wrestling, and he was one of the only guys that I trained with that have a dip in the top lip and a dip in the bottom lip and spit in the corner and just rugged as all get out. You ever keep up with old Lindland?
Oh my gosh, I was thinking of Lindland yesterday. I had a fight in Bodog. Lindland was my corner man. Lindland doesn't come back to the room, and I'm cutting weight. It's down to 185. So the only pause you get in this process of suffering is when you fall asleep for however many hours you're out. But that's when you're not in dry mouth and fantasizing about the waffle you're going to eat or whatever it might be. So I finally fall asleep. And one thing about me, if I fall asleep and I wake up, I'm now done. I am now up. I get one crack at it. So I wait and I wait. I want to fall asleep. I'm waiting. Finally, it's so late. I fall asleep around 2 o'clock. At 3 a.m., Matt comes busting through the door. I mean, it's like a hurricane. He's flipping lights on. I'm like, hey, Matt, please, turn it off. Asleep. Matt, I'm asleep. And he's traveled with me enough to know, like, what that code is. And he's like, dude, just go back to sleep. Just go to sleep. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to. Just keep it down. Keep it down. He's like, dude, if you're tired, just go to sleep. This doesn't make sense. If you're saying you're tired and you're in bed, go to sleep. What would it have to do with me? He starts a conversation. Well, now that the conversation has started, I am now up. So he calls his wife on the phone. And he's talking just like this. Like, matter of fact, I'm trying to act. And he calls up Angie on the phone. He's like, hey, I'm sorry to call so late. I would have called. Honey, listen to it. I would have called. I've been in jail. I got arrested for assault. I'm working through it. And I can't hear what she's saying. But he then says to her, babe, you're acting like it's the first time I've been arrested in a foreign country. And he hangs up on her. So now, Matt, what happened? Where have you been? Well, he got arrested. He and Phil Baroni were bitter enemies and rivals at that time. Like, as big as our sport had. They were, you couldn't have them in the same room. We all end up in Canada. Phil's out there with, whoever his fighter is that's in bed like me, and Matt's out there with me. They have no company. Somehow they find each other and they go out on the town. Something happens on the town, and Matt ends up arrested. And it was just like one of these stories. And then we get to the fight the very next day, and Matt's job was to tape my hands. We didn't have commissions back then. So if you wanted your hands taped, it was optional, but they got to tape it. I never see him. He doesn't come in the warm-up room. Not only do I not have my hands taped, I don't have a warm-up. I'm there with other guys, but they're foreign, and there's a language barrier, and they're just not my guys. So I'm in the corner warming up. They call my name. And I can't remember if Matt came and joined me in the tunnel or if he finally joined me at ringside. I can't remember that part of it, but when the fight's over, oh my God. Oh, my hands are so sore. Do we have any ice? He's like, what's wrong with your hands, dude? So they weren't wrapped. They weren't. I had no idea how hard or how badly that could hurt when they're not. He's like, why didn't you wrap your hands? And he begins scolding and yelling at me. So I'm trying to explain to him, because you've got the gauze, you have the tape, you're the rapper. Where the hell have you been for the last, that's what I'm getting at. This isn't a story about him, it's a story about me. I'm bringing up my hands as a way of making him apologize to me. He stayed on me so hard about how irresponsible that was to not tape my hands, that when the whole thing was done, to this day I don't know where he was, and I ended up telling him sorry.
That's beautiful.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Matt Lindland.
Yeah. Okay, we got
It's the best, but it's there's got his own thing going on.
Yeah. We got UFC.
You want to hear what happened? You want to hear what happened with that assault charge?
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this. We're in Russia at a different event. Now, Matt is facing this. He's got to get lawyers. He's got to come back, or just don't ever go to Canada again. But the problem with that is we're doing business with Bodog, that was a major company at the time based in Canada. It looks like Matt is going to have to get a lawyer, make the airplane trips, and get there. We're in Russia. Matt's got a can of chew, Copenhagen. And there's this guy, and by the way, the people all involved with this were gangster. They were part of this motorcycle gang. So we got a guy that says, hey, let me get a chew. And Matt's like, can't help you, dude. I don't have enough, and you can't buy it over there. And the guy's like, Matt, please, let me get a chew. And Matt's like, And the guy goes, Matt, I'll give you $500 for whatever's left in that can. And the guy hadn't seen it. The guy didn't know. So I'll give you $500, and I own that can. And Matt thought about it, and he goes, And the guy said, and we're all just sitting there, and the guy goes, I can make all your legal problems go away. That girl involved is dating my bud. I make them all go away. And for the can. And Matt said, you can have one dip from it. And the guy said, okay. The guy took a dip, gave it back, and that guy got on the phone, and sure enough, over that one can of chew, whoever he called and however the hierarchy of that gang worked, he was high in. I mean, when I tell you we never heard about it again, it was dismissed. It was never, ever even discussed again. And that was a major stress for Matt. Like, how am I going to deal with this? How much is this going to cost? One dip in Russia went away.
That is wild.
And that is Matt Lindland.
Yeah, for real. Okay, we got UFC 304 around the corner. We'll do some real quick ones here. We got Belal versus Leon. 23-3 versus 22-3. Who gets it done?
Leon is better than I was aware. When Leon started taking Colby down, Leon is one of those few guys. Sean is one of these few guys. That weaponized pace. They can go so hard that in of itself becomes a weapon. Leon. I'm taking Leon. I'm actually cheering Muhammed, but I'm predicting Leon.
Okay, we got Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes, the co-main event interim title.
Possibly a very big mistake for everybody involved. Possibly a mistake for booking this match. Possibly a mistake by the UFC for featuring this match. Curtis Blaydes has already beaten him once. You can say whatever you want about the fight. He already walked into the same territory, which is supposed to be an advantage. He's always gone into this crowd. He's already slept in this hotel. He's already experienced this time change, which are all supposed to be advantages. Tom, he's already done it, and he found a way to win. My answer to you is Tom Aspinall. But I do want to preface and hedge it with what I just said. This is a very dangerous fight, and Curtis is a very, very live dog. I'm actually surprised that he even is the underdog.
Yeah. Okay, we got Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett.
Oh, wow. Well, and see, there's another one. There's another one. Paddy Pimblett, turns out, is better than we knew. Now, Paddy was off with that knee injury, and that's a big deal. I know he's got one fight in, but it's one fight in like 19 months. And I feel as though Bobby Green is skilled enough to outwork him in a 3-round situation. That would be an upset, but I'm going to take the king.
I agree. Okay, next one. Nothing signed yet, but we got Sugar Show versus Merab in the big cage. We got Merab, who will shoot probably 30 to 50 times. He'll shoot probably 3 to 4 feet away, but he doesn't stop shooting. He's got a huge head. He's about 5'4", versus Sugar Show, who's the sniper. Who you got? Give it to me straight.
Merab is awesome, and he's going to be a headache. He's going to be a headache just because the output of that same damn shot. The one thing that Chito failed to do, the one thing that Aljo failed to do, the one thing that they all failed to do is to be able to get close enough to Sean. It's not a matter of Sean's out scrambling, he's defending these takedowns. They're not even taking the shot. Sean does something. I don't know what it is. I think it has to do with the length. I think it has to do with the threat of the knee. But there's something those guys are feeling where they're feeling like now's not the time. I'm not there yet. Let me do something else, and then I'll make my effort. And Merab, one thing about him, man, those are good shots. He gets in close. There's a setup that he looks for. There's some reactions that he does before he changes elevation and goes. They're not just wild and reckless. I don't think he's ever going to be able to get set up. I don't think Merab's going to be able to get in close. I don't think he's going to see whatever it is that he as an athlete is looking for. And I haven't figured it out, and I don't expect you to tell me, but Sean is doing something because every opponent has felt just as uncomfortable in that moment. And I think that that's going to be the big difference. Reach generally doesn't play into fights. It's just something we talk about. Reach is everything in this fight. Sugar Sean is my answer.
Let's go. We're going to leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't follow Chael Sonnen's page, you're missing out. So head over to his YouTube page. I'll have it, the description in the bio. And then Instagram, about 10,000 away from the 1M.
Ooh.
1M.
Right. Look at me. I got hacked. I got hacked a week ago, but I've got my Instagram back. Everything's off and running. 1 million, here I come.
Here we go. Chael, you the fucking man, brother. Love you, and we'll talk to you soon.
I love you too, buddy, and I have missed you. Keep up the good work.
Okay.
Kaboom!